Hello guys and welcome to the final race review here with the League of Europe podcast with myself, Ivory Mike, and today I have been joined by the voice of Division 1, the main man, James. How are you doing today, James?
I'm doing great. I hope everyone is tuning in to the podcast and will enjoy our listening probably over the next, I would imagine, 15 to half an hour or so. Of course, we were due to have Mark and Montana here as well, but I'm very privileged to be alongside you and for the first time as well, which is fantastic.
This is the first time. And, Joe, mate, I'm looking forward to it. You know, there's no better way to end the season, to be honest, with what happened in Brazil in some of the divisions, you know, the battles that were going on. I'm pretty sure, you know, you would like to pretty much dive straight into D1 and, you know, let us know what happened up there.
Yeah, in Brazil, obviously, Montana maintaining that 7-race win streak, unbeatable this season in Division 1, and I said it across the stream that he pretty much is the force that everyone has to stop next season in Season 3 of League of Europe, of course, coming in January. But it was a really good race overall. There was a lot of good battles. It was all clean lap 1. Then we had the bit of a scenario where I think it was Rick in the... he was still yet to come into the pit. Some of the guys had pitted just ahead of him, and he was getting held up within the traffic, which was a bit of a pain, but was quite exciting for me because obviously you never know what's going to happen with a bit of traffic involved. And looking at the results, it really pans out how that race actually developed. Montana won, obviously. Didn't take the fastest lap, however. That went to, if I am not mistaken, that went to Rick in the fastest lap. Am I right in saying that? I think I am.
I'm just
somebody else.
Just trying to bring up the standings now, except for D1.
Yeah, but I've just noticed on the standings we've got 2 guys on 2 points. So it's either YHYY or Game Boys. I think it was YHYY, so I'll mistake myself in that. The Finn got fastest lap. But overall, it was a really great race and a real great season finale, really, in Brazil. You couldn't ask for any more. A lot of great action, a lot of fantastic driving out on track, and full credit, I must say, over the last 18 weeks or so, where we've had the races, I've got to say, the level of driving is something that I've never seen before in commentary, and that's probably why my commentary is a bit better than normal in that. But honestly, fantastic, and the drivers deserve a lot of credit, and of course the organisers, Gary Donegan especially so, for organising Division 1, and to Mark as well. I'll give him a shout out because he got me into commentary in the first place in League of Europe. But overall, great season in Division 1. It's fantastic.
Well, you know, I mean, we're going to do something a little bit different. Obviously, like, you know, after talking about each race, we'll talk about what, you know, who has actually surprised us this season, and, you know, the big moments in the league. So, out of everyone in D1, who has actually surprised you the most?
For me, most of the late joiners into the league, Neo, first off, I think he's been really consistent since joining League of Europe. Has finished second in the standings. Joined in 9 races into the season, so only halfway in the calendar, he's managed to turn up and race every single race, and every single race he's done, drove very consistently. The German will be one to watch next season across a full season. I think he can actually give it to Montana next season if both of them do fight out again in Division 1. Also, most notable, I think Spine as well. Only 6 races with us in Division 1. 88 points for the Swiss man, who finished in 6th in the standings. Again, look forward to seeing what he can do across a full season, and again, maintaining that consistency. And a big shout out as well to Larkin, who really, really drove well in the final half of the season. Some of his results basically add up: 12 points, 10 points, 12 points, really consistent throughout that final batch. 83 points for Larkin, really came of age in himself, and he could be a bit of an underdog next season to watch out for. And there's a few others as well who I can really shout out as well. Cantera, Spaniards. They didn't finish in a few of their races bit inconsistent possibly, and they didn't turn up in a couple either. But again, if they all turn up and everyone races every race next season, it could be a fascinating affair in Division 1. And I, of course, will be back commentating for that, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, I think that's been the main thing in D1. We've had so many great, quick guys come in, but just a bit too late to stop Montana's charge for the championship. Which, I'm looking forward next season to seeing who is going to actually take the fight to Montana, because he is a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Division 1 drivers this season, Montana obviously dominating affairs, taking the championship, a few races to go before even the season ended. 409 points was his finishing total. I offer the hand of friendship to anyone that retired last season, the likes of Rafa, the likes of, just picking out a couple as well, Harrison David, Sterling West. Please come back, guys, because seriously, the level of driving I think we're going to get next season across the whole of League of Europe might be something to really shout home about. And I offer anyone, even if you are an experienced racer and you are coming into a league for the first time, please do consider joining us on a Saturday, because honestly, it'd be fantastic. And I'm sure you'd like to touch on Division 2 and Division 3 this season as well. And we'll come on to that in just a moment.
Yep, I echo your thoughts on that, and hope we do get some returning quick drivers for next year for D1, and also any new rapid drivers to join us, because to be honest, I mean, it is very, very competitive in D1, and I think the more competitive it is, the better the racing, and the more enjoyable it is going to be for the viewers and for yourself to commentate over.
Yeah, I completely agree on that, and I echo those words. Obviously, if the racing becomes a bit better in Division 1, and there's a lot more closeness between the drivers, I'm probably going to be losing my voice more times than ever. So just get prepared for that next season.
Yep, and of course, the best way that you can sign up for League of Europe is in the link that will be in the description. The sign-ups are now open for Season 3, and we hope to see as many of you guys there as possible. But moving on now to D2, and it was a very, very interesting race. Drivers' Championship wrapped up the race before by the man that is QVR Campbell, the lead Ferrari, but there was a massive constructors battle going on between Ferrari and Red Bull, and it really did come all the way down to the last race. And honestly, I mean, we looked at the qualifying, which was in the intermediate conditions. B. Morgan, the Red Bull driver, put himself in such a great position to take that fight to Ferrari, as I'm just going to quickly get the qualifying standings up. But it was an absolute fantastic race, dry throughout, no interference whatsoever with the weather, which, it was great to see. We had fantastic racing. Massive shout out to Toxic as well, who really, he put us on the teetering edge of what's going to happen in this constructors battle, because he played such a big role in it. So just getting up the qualifying results.
Yeah, I'll comment on that actually. Toxic obviously driving second there in Division 2 in Brazil, and I think honestly, I'll let you in for a bit of a secret. He actually signed up through me to Division 2. Him and Commentless came into the league. I think they've been fantastic assets in Division 2. I look forward to seeing what they can do, and certainly Toxic, I think, could have potential for getting Division 2 title next season. You've heard it here first. I really think he is a really good driver out on track.
Yeah, and
just needs that consistency.
I mean, same with Carmentless as well. He has shown some great pace in the latter stage of the season since joining the division. So it's going to be interesting to see what is going to happen next season with those two, who they could very well be fighting it out for the D2 championship. You know, you never know. But we did have B Morgan absolutely, you know, finding the perfect conditions in the intermediates in qualifying to put it on pole, put the pressure on Ferrari, and the man that he's kind of not going to be happy with what happened because he made a mistake and spun out is the Ferrari of J. Cole, who went all the way to the back. You know, it was always going to be an uphill task from that point. They were hoping, of course, for Toxic to really put the pressure on. And I believe that it was just a penalty that separated Toxic from the top step of the podium, which I think would have saved the constructors for Ferrari.
Just looking at the points for the constructors, am I right in saying that the constructors came down to 4 points at the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it did. I think it was just the fact that Toxic got a 3-second time penalty, and I think the gap between Toxic winning the race and B Morgan in second was just over 1/10 of a second. So, and
could have easily been different then.
It could have very easily been different, and I think the reason why B Morgan was able to get just within that 3-second time penalty is because Toxic ran out of VRS at the end. His deployment had completely gone. So it was a very nail biter all the way down to the last lap, the last corner, the last straight. Absolute nail biter. But end of the day, you know, Campbell takes away the D2 championship, as we know from Belgium, and Red Bull in a fantastic final race effort, taking away the constructors by the mere margins of 4 points. And honestly, that was a complete nail biter, and we gotta look at some of these guys now who could very well be going up into D1 next season.
I've got to say Campbell, based off the form. Obviously, championship winner, 236 points for his name. That 3-race winning streak that he had really, really gained the momentum for that title. And I've had the privilege of... oh, hang on, I'll be back in a minute. Sorry.
That's right. But, yeah, you know, we got a few of these guys that could very well be going up into Division 1 for next season, Campbell being a main candidate. A few other candidates would also be the likes of B Morgan, who showed incredible pace towards the end of the season. Dan being another one. J. Cole potentially also joining them up there. And possibly Caesar, who missed quite a lot of races towards the end of the season, but he showed early in the season just how quick he was.
Oh, I am back. There we go. Just had to go and get my tea, which has arrived. So this will be, I think that'll be the first podcast. You've had a drunk podcast. You'll get an eating podcast now with us.
I mean, it depends what food. What are we cooking over there?
Chicken Kiev, chicken dippers, and potato waffles. There you go.
Lovely
and
stuff.
Tomato sauce. Rations of tomato sauce.
Lovely.
Oh. I'll mute my mic because I'm a bit out of breath.
Right. So, of course, a couple of names I just mentioned there, obviously being Campbell, J. Cole, Dan, B. Morgan, Caesar, and obviously the guys that came in later into the season, you know, Car Mentalist and Toxic, Maledictus as well, all very quick guys who could very well go up into D1. Are there any names there that jump out to you that could race well in D1?
For me, certainly Caesar. 5th place, really maintained himself first half of the season. I think he drove sensationally well in some of the races, including getting a win.
I think he
just fell off a bit.
I think he was
he was leading the championship, I think.
Before he took his break.
And then, what happened with his DNSs? Because there's a string of DNSs there. He didn't show up to a couple of races.
Well, He got married and was on his honeymoon for a few weeks, so
Oh,
that was, obviously, fantastic for him in his personal life. He did have a
congratulations,
bit.
'cause I haven't said that yet. Congratulations. Even it's a bit late.
Yeah, so he had to miss a fair few races because he was enjoying a married life.
Wow. Yeah, but honestly, seriously, I think he could be a title contender next season. And some of the other guys, I've already alluded to Commentless and Toxic. Both these guys I've known, I've commentated on before. And honestly, you cannot get two nicer lads at all within the league. Both of them really committed, really consistent. I kind of believe that I've just seen the standings and saw Commentless ahead of Toxic. I think it should be the other way around. But honestly, watch out for both of them going forward next season. It's going to be sensational to see. And you're going to be commentating on it next season, are you? Division 2?
I hope I will be commentating over next season. I'd love to see the same kind of battles that we have seen throughout this entire season in D2, because it's been incredibly competitive and a great second tier to the D1 racing that we've seen, because it's been competitive at the top end, it's competitive in the middle, and when we get down to D3, it's also a very competitive division as well. And once again, we'll plug the sign-ups, which are in the description, so make sure you guys jump on over and sign up for season 3 of League of Europe. Now, obviously there were a few names that were brilliant at the beginning of the season, but then kind of slowly dropped off towards the latter stage of the season. Mark being one of them, as well as Raikon as well.
Yeah, Raikon left the season, didn't he? Looking at the standings, left with a couple of races to go.
I haven't actually seen that. I thought he just couldn't make the rest of the season.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I agree on that. Running my number 7, I've got to admit as well. My lucky number. I mean, 2 wins for them early on in the season. Hungary and, don't get me wrong on this, China as well. Really drove well. I think he could be a one to watch if he comes back next season. And RJW, well, less I say about him, the better, really. But he was very consistent to start off the season as well. He would have been right up there, I think, if he completed the season. And again, offer of from me, do come back and join us, because seriously, the more sign-ups we get, the better the league will be. And the more hard work for the organisers as well.
Yep, and same as what we done for D1, like the biggest surprises of the season on who's done well. For my personal opinion on it, for Dan and B Morgan to come up from D2 last season to winning the from D3 last season to D2 to win the constructors in D2 and to push Campbell all the way to the penultimate race in the Drivers' Championship. I mean, those two have got to be right there as like my top picks of the most surprising guys of the season. Yeah,
I've got to agree with you on Dan. I mean, obviously, by the time we're recording this, the GT Sport race would have already been ran, and he's seriously consistent in GT Sport as well. And again, his consistency has been very good in the first half of the season, and indeed more so in the second half, finished third in the championship. Do you think he'll be a title contender next season based on his stats from this season?
I honestly believe that he will be a definite title contender next season. That is, of course, if he does not get promoted up to D1. He could do it. It could happen.
Well, if that happens, he's got the privilege of me commentating on from.
Yep, I know he's going to feel a little bit downhearted with the fact that his teammate did manage to beat him in the standings at the final race, and he did it with a win as well, which you gotta feel for Dan, because I mean, he was in the championship battle in Belgium, and unfortunately he just got caught up in the Radion incident, which may or may not be a very big highlight of the season.
Sorry about this. Just eating. 7 points off. 7 points off his teammate though at the end of the season. He shouldn't be downhearted at all. It's a really good point score. To obviously finish behind your teammate is a bit of a downer, but it's just how you commit yourself to next season. That's what the drivers have now got to be thinking about. All of those that are returning, they've got to think next season. Well, I've scored this amount of points. Let's aim for this amount of points, and let's see where we get. Because seriously, I think if everyone has a goal for themselves at the start of the season, across any tier, it will really come through within their driving. And should be something to really have a look into next season. I think as long as everyone commits themselves, sets themselves a goal right at the start of the season, adapt your approach to the start when you start the season if your results haven't been going as they are. But I think everyone's got to aim for a goal at the start of the season, and that will produce better racing.
Yep, and yeah, I think that was a thing with a few early on in the season that they just didn't set the goals for themselves. But hopefully, next season that they will, because of course we do have now D3 and a bit of controversy at the final race of the season, where unfortunately Heated, who usually hosts the lobby, was unable to race, so delegation of that went to Ibo. Unfortunately, Ibo forgot to put the formation lap on, which led to people believing that it was going to be a race formation start, so they went slower than what they would have or they should have done. But it was a race start, and it caught a lot of people out early on, dropping positions. And honestly,
formation lap gate, I think we can call it.
Yeah, we'll call it the Red Bull gate, actually, because it worked out well for the two Red Bulls. But yeah, it was one of those things. It was unfortunate that it happened. We all know that Ibo will, he'll learn from this, carry it forward, and in all future lobbies that he hosts, the formation lap will be on. It was unfortunate for Edact, who qualified on the front row of the grid and ended up at the end of turn 1 down in 4th place, and Wakirst, who qualified in 3rd, ended up towards, I think, around about P7 or P8, which it's unfortunate for them as well. My whole view on the thing was, I do believe that it should have been a restart, but we should all know the difference between a formation lap start procedure and a restart procedure.
Yeah, I agree on that. I think it certainly should have been a restart. Obviously, if the settings are wrong, there's no real point in continuing until the settings are right, and then everyone's on an even playing field that way. Even if you went into Grid Editor and just put everyone in the positions that they qualified in, that would have fixed things, and it would have been a 5-minute job, and everything would have been sorted, and everyone, I think, would have been on a fairer playing field to how they would have been. Obviously, everyone adapting to the formation. I know you were saying before, it was a bit of a shock that there was no formation lap. So, must have caught you guys by surprise.
I mean, it definitely caught definitely some people out more than others. Like I said, Edac dropping places, Wakirst dropping even more places. Adri, who decided to start at the back of the race at that point, he literally didn't even know that the formation lap was off until a certain point around the lap. Nico, who was on pole, he didn't realise the formation lap was off until I tried a move down into turn 4. So it definitely caught out a lot of people. It did catch me out as well a little bit, but I was able to kind of react to it a lot quicker than the guys around me, which I will say it did give me a little bit of an unfair advantage in the early part of the race, which is not what you want to see. But I don't know, it's one of those things that happen. We'll all learn from it, and next time, hopefully this never happens again. But it did lead up to a fantastic season finale in D3 because it was intermediate conditions, too dry in that race, and we saw some big names drop out early. Educt losing it on the exit of turn 4. Both of the Alfa Romeos losing it in the exact same spot, literally in tandem with each other, losing it in the same place. So they were 100% in sync there. Big W, who he was already secured second in the championship, decided to take the plunge and race on the steering wheel for the first time this season. So credit to him. Unfortunately, he also was unable to finish the race. And I think probably the best drive that myself and Nico could have done, because it was the first time ever that, well, first time in D3 this season that a constructors team had got a 1-2 in the race. So pressure was all on Adri and Smitsky and the Renaults. We were 31 points behind. 1-2, pretty much the maximum points that we could get, not including the, well, maximum points, not including the fastest lap. But 1 point more wouldn't have made a difference, because Adri, fantastic drive from the back of the grid to get up into. He crossed the line in 5th place, but was able to get 4th on penalties. And of course, Smitsky, who got the 5 points that led Renault to winning by 5 points. So Smitsky got the 5 points that mattered, which was fantastic, because a lot of people saw Adri as the main breadwinner for the Renault team, and Smitsky was the one that counted that day.
Looking at Adriddle's stats, I've got to be honest, really consistent throughout the season. He deserves the promotion in Division 2, without a shadow of a doubt. Obviously, you won that race, which is absolutely fantastic. Well done on that. And the two teammates getting 1 and 2, as you say, really gained on Renault in the end and the constructors. And it came down to 5 points, I think you alluded to there.
It was 5 points, and Smitsky was the one who got the 5 points.
If he didn't get those 5 points, then it would have been a hell of a lot interesting for the constructors, definitely.
Well,
pardon me.
This is what I said to Smitsky. If he didn't get those 5 points, if he had DNF'd in that race and Adri still finished 4th, Red Bull would have won the constructors due to race wins, because I would have had the 3rd win there. Nico would have had 2, and Adri would have had 4 to his name. So that's 5 for Red Bull, 4 for Renault. So Smitsky 100% got the points to get Renault the win. And Mark actually called it a few months back. He says, Smitsky's going to get the points that seals the constructors. So Mark called it a few months back. It was unbelievable.
Looking into the future, you may as well go on The Simpsons, because they predict the future there, don't they, as well?
Well, not sure about The Simpsons, but he could write down what he thinks the lottery numbers are going to be this week.
Oh, if that's the case, I'll be winning every week then, if Mark gives me them.
Yeah, but it was a fantastic way to end the season. The first 1-2 of the season from any constructors team, pushing Renault all the way to the absolute limit in that race. Adri doing what Adri does now, being Mr. Consistent, picking up what he can where he can, which has really won him this championship, because he's been there whenever people have fallen over themselves through incidents or connection issues. Adri's always the one there that capitalizes on it.
Yeah, that really showed in his last 8 races or so as well. I mean, the amount of points difference between first half of the season, second half of the season is pretty much similar, which is absolutely fantastic, and just comes to show his consistency for the Spaniard.
Yep, and the only other person who has won as many races as Adri this season is James, who has been the polar opposite, Mr. Inconsistent in the championship. So you can see what consistency gets you over the course of a season. But massive congratulations to the Renaults for sealing it at Brazil, and of course commiserations to not only myself and Nico and the constructors, but commiserations to everyone who unfortunately got caught out with the no safety car, no formation lap, sorry, at the start. But it's a learning experience. We'll all learn from it, and it shouldn't happen again. So hopefully we can just take it forward and just move on. And I believe now, talking about D3 guys who could very well move up into D2, are there? Well, obviously, I personally think that Adri is definitely a candidate to go up into D2. Big W, who came down from D2 at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, round number 5. Mr. Consistent for a while. He's getting quite a few podiums in a row. Makes me wonder where he would have been if he was there at the start of the season in D3. But he's probably another candidate to go up into D2. Educt as well. He was showing great pace towards the end of the season. Shame how his season ended, but he's definitely a candidate to go up into D2. You can probably throw myself and Nico in that mix as well. Good candidates. And I want to say James as well, because he's definitely got the pace. He just needs the consistency now to go with it.
Yeah, I've got to come in on that and say top 6 for me might deserve a promotion up to Division 2. I mean, looking at how the standings have played out, it's less than 100. It's just over 100 points separating top 6 in the standings. Mm-hmm. Obviously, how the season panned out, Big W, if he joined for the first race of the season, I have a feeling he might have won the championship. But what could have been, essentially, for him. The Australian, of course, and the McLaren. But looking down at I think the top 6 deserve promotion. And just on a note as well, about the Brazil race, Breadbank drove really well.
Yeah, Breadbank is one of those guys that came in very late, but he has definitely got some pace about him. Him, Norwich City being another one who is a reserve. I still think he's a reserve for D3. I'm not quite sure about that.
Yeah.
But he came in as a reserve, Breadbank, and he was there fighting for podiums from day one at Canada. He just got too many penalties, which knocked him off the podium at Canada. And he's always been there in that mix, like in the top 5. So over the course of the season, he could have very well been within that championship battle, which, of course, is interesting going into next season.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. I mean, he finished 5th in Brazil, Breadbank, and to pardon the pun, his season was a bit flat, like a flatbread. But honestly, he could be going places with those 2 5th places I had in the season. And if only he joined the first half of the season and wasn't a reserve, I still think he could have done a lot better. That's terrible. Yeah. Me and my bread puns.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that, but
I do it all the time in GT Sport, don't worry. It's the beginning and the end with these bread puns.
But obviously, we also know how competitive this division has been. I mean, 18 rounds, there have been 8 different winners. 8 different people on the top step of that podium. And it's been an incredibly competitive season. I think 14 different people on the podiums. And of course, the latest name to be on that podium was Cursed, who could very well be going places next season as well. Picking up his pace now, ready for season 3. Now, honestly, my thoughts on who has been the standout of the season, for me, Edact, of course, Adri with his consistency, but everyone expected Adri to be quick, so it wasn't really a surprise. But Edact, Mr. Ruta as well, because he was very quick, and wish he could have raced in as many races as he did, as he could have, but it is what it is. But yeah, Mr. Ruta and Ghost Recon is another name who has really improved to a much better level from the start of the season to where he is right now. So, those 3 are the big names I've been shocked by, along with Cursed.
Yeah, I mean, consistency pays for everything at the end, and Kursk definitely, looking at his results, first half of the season was absolutely abysmal. I think he only scored 11 points. And then in the rest of the season, I mean, ended off here, 8 points, 12 points, 18 points, and third as well, 15 points. Really drove stunningly well in that last 4 races of the season, and that made a season for him, I think. Maybe a bit more consistency going forward, maybe to ensure that he gets a much better start to the season. I mean, he didn't make the first 3 races. He could be one to watch. And certainly you saying about Ghost Recon as well, I can understand why you've said that as well. Again, he only scored 9 points through the first 8 races of the season. But apart from that, he really got himself underway. That consistency really came about for him, and the American going forward might be a contender for best of the rest, I think, if he can show that pace. And honestly, the adaptability of this game, the fast guys now become slow, the slow guys now become quick. It's quite weird.
It's quick, and here's going to be the interesting thing now, because we do have this break before the next season begins. It's just how much are these guys going to improve between now and the start of next season, because we've seen how well they've improved over the course of the season. Are they going to take that next step now to be at the sharp end for next season from the get-go? And that's the same across all the divisions, not just Division 3, which I think is going to be very interesting dynamic, especially if we got a lot of new drivers coming in. Once again, I'll plug the sign-ups. It's down in the description. Make sure you sign up, and yeah, it's just going to make next season so much more competitive, so much more enjoyable, as it's just going to be that next level.
Yeah, I mean, for the first season on the game, and I was drafted in obviously as the Division 1 commentator, but across all tiers, the level of racing has been absolutely brilliant this season. I think it's at a level that we can work on. Some of the driving, of course, no race is perfect. There'll always be incidents, but it's just how you cope with those incidents and you move forward. I mean, talking about Division 1, some of the driving this season has been unbelievable. I think the race in Spain will probably go down for me as a highlight, with Montana getting poor Sterling West, who was on a one-stop strategy very late on the final lap in the race. I was absolutely heartbroken. I think it was the final 2 corners he made the move at, and Montana won. Belatedly so, I was disappointed for Sterling West, but honestly, Spain will go down for me as the best race of the season for Division 1. And looking forward, I urge any new driver, whether, as I say, you are really experienced and you want to have a bit of fun on a Saturday, or you're brand new to league racing, do come and join us, because seriously, you will learn your craft against the best. And I mean, either here for Division 3 as well, you will learn against him. You won't learn against me though, because I'm only going to be in the commentary box, which is a shame.
But I mean, I'm just going to echo what you just said there. Whether you're new to the game and you want to test yourself competitively, or whether you're a seasoned veteran, sign up, test your abilities, and you will quickly learn your racecraft and everything. You'll find out that you are as good or even better than what you actually think that you are, which is great because it's such a great community as well.
It's absolutely fantastic, the community. Full credit, as I say, must go to all the organisers, even for GT Sport and even for other projects that might come out in 2020 as well. Everyone deserves credit, and it's unbelievable to imagine how much work actually goes into any league, but especially so League of Europe. I mean, this is our third season under the ownership, the League of Europe ownership, because I know it was Precision Racing League before it rebranded. And I think, honestly, the amount of drivers we've got here, the amount of great organisers that we've got here, the league is only go from strength to strength, and I'll just echo these words: AOR and ILR, we're coming to get you.
And I couldn't have put that any better myself. So, but before we get into the next season, I believe that we do have end of season awards, which is what we had at the end of last season. We don't know the nominations yet, we don't know the days yet, but it is being talked about, so maybe we could see some great highlights of what we've seen this season. Of course, yourself saying that Spain being a fantastic highlight for you, D3, the epic 5-way battle for the win at Canada being a highlight in D3, and obviously the 4-way battle that we had in Bahrain as well. I'm excited to see which things are going to get picked out.
I'm really interested to see if there's an award for best commentator. Please give it to somebody else. I'm not deserving of the award at all.
Look, you're winning it, right?
If I win it outright, then so be it. I mean, I do commentary for enjoyment more than anything else, and I want to give my experience, my expertise across to the viewers, and I'm sure, obviously through this podcast, through commentaries on League of Europe, and indeed in other leagues as well, you guys begin to follow me a bit more and ensure that we move forward as a team. But if you're seriously thinking about awarding me best commentator, you've got another thing coming, because I won't accept it.
I mean, we're definitely going to nominate you.
Yeah,
actually, you never know.
There's probably a lot of nominations going to be coming from me now that I've said that.
Oh yeah, you've definitely won though. Now you said you don't want it, you've definitely won it.
There we go. But again, it just comes to show, I mean, the level of commentary that we've got across all three tiers. I mean, obviously, I might be considered the best in quotation marks, but trust me, I'm not. There's going to be a lot of other guys coming through the commentating ranks within League of Europe. You, for example, doing a great job in Division 2, Ghost Recon, J. Cole, a couple of other guys that I can't pick out on.
Mark's done a few console D3 as well, so he could be another name thrown in the best commentator.
Yeah, every one of those, seriously, everyone, I think, commentary, behind the scenes, doing a great job. I can't wait to see how the league moves forward, because if Division 1, certainly from my experience of this season, if it proves out to be anything like we've experienced, it'll be hell of a watch.
Yep, and I think obviously we'll leave everyone with the thoughts of what will potentially happen in Season 3, because I think it's probably a decent time to wrap it up, I think. So, first things first, I'd like to thank you, James, for joining me, and I hope to see you on more podcasts in the future.
You're very welcome. More than happy.
Yep, and a massive shout out to every single person involved in League of Europe who has been involved in League of Europe this season. You've all been fantastic. You've all played such a critical role in the development of this league in this season, and we can't thank you enough. And of course, we look forward to season 3 sign-ups in the description. Cheeky plug again.
Getting plenty of plugs out there tonight, aren't we?
I mean, you know, sorry, I've paid the electricity. It's all good. Alright, guys, you know, thank you for joining us on the final race review of the season. We look forward to seeing you in season 3. So for myself, Ivor Bryn Mike, from James, and from everyone here at League of Europe, we thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you again for season 3.